It really is a mindset issue that you have to try to address.
Consistency will never get you better results.
I did what I had to do and express myself.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Manarchy podcast with me, Chris. I am joined here as usual with Sumit and Wilson. And today we're going to be talking a bit about motivation versus consistency, why they're so important, why they're important factors, and how to deal with them, how to identify them, and maybe some action points for you there at the end. So Sumit, how do you define the two? How do you define motivation and consistency?
We were just talking about this a short while back, right? I mean, it was only up until maybe 3 years ago that I actually even understood the true difference between the two. Now I would know what it means to be motivated. I know what it means to be consistent, but I would often confuse the two. Motivation is a feeling, an emotion. It's a high. Think of it like a wave. It's a gigantic wave that comes in, dissipates, goes away. Right? Within that motivation, for that particular context of that experience that you're having, it can help you solve problems. It brings a lot of energy with it. As it dissipates, the energy dissipates with it. Consistency, on the other hand, is strategic. It is action that is done willingly. It is done of your own volition. And it is done repetitively with an understanding that whether there is some kind of light at the end of the tunnel or there's some kind of micro result that's going to happen with each one of them is irrelevant. However, what I strongly believe is that they are linked in a weird way. Motivation by itself does not lead to consistency. Consistency, however, given enough time, builds motivation slowly. Think of it like a little micro dopamine hit that keeps happening. It keeps showing you little results. It's like that atomic habits, 1% every day.
Yes.
And then before you know it, like at the end of the year, you're 3,700 times better at whatever that activity is. But you will be noticing that. Others will tell you about it, and that will motivate you to do more. So there is a clear, distinct difference. There is some relationship between them, but very well confused among people who are always chasing motivation and not understanding that it's consistency that will get them that motivation they need to achieve whatever it is that the result they want to get.
Wilson, how would you describe it?
I think I should have opened this up, actually.
Yeah, he's taking all your ideas again.
You left nothing for me, absolutely nothing. But let me just break into 3-4 parts of what actually he said. I also believe motivation depends upon your age, stages in life.
Absolutely.
And then that brings in consistency as well. As you rightly said, it is linked. But in a way, if you're consistent in something, you're already motivated. At times you might say, I need a motivation to do this. Yeah, but then where is your consistency?
I guess it's the difference between conscious and subconscious.
Exactly.
Correct.
Like when you're in college, you need to experiment a lot of things. You like to do a lot of things. So that is okay, let's do this. So that's a motivation, but you're not consistent with it because there are various factors, right? You break that mold. So you try different things. Now that is motivation. Consistency will come at a later stage in life, not at the initial stages. Until you're a sportsman, you're an athlete, you do some profession right from day one on business or something, then it adds value. Motivation comes, consistency, because you see the world right in front of you, which is vast, and you want to kind of conquer that. That is motivation, right? Consistency is when you're conquered almost like what you desire, and then you set in that consistency thing.
It's more active versus passive.
More active versus passive.
Active versus passive.
Do you think that motivation is intrinsically linked to the potential of a positive outcome? Can we say that without the potential of a positive outcome, motivation would not exist?
I agree and disagree at the same time, right? I mean, motivation does not guarantee in any way what kind of outcome there is.
True.
There is the belief of an outcome.
Yes.
Right? I'm going to get super motivated, so I'll end up writing these 10 pages that is going to be the chapter in my next book.
Yes.
Quality be damned, right? So the idea here is that this gigantic motivational burst of energy that is going to come to me is going to come to me. But the thing is, it's unbridled, uncontrolled, unchecked power, so to speak. Think of it like the wave analogy that I was giving, that in the ocean, it's a gigantic 100-foot wave that's carrying a ton of energy with it, like millions and millions of tons of energy. But it's unchecked. It has nothing to go with it. So it's just going to crash somewhere or crash with another wave, and it might dissipate at any point in time. During that time, it has transferred energy. Whether that's given you a positive outcome, it has given you the result you wanted, or you've got a 100-foot wave that is transferring energy for like what required only 10 feet worth of motivation.
Yes.
Right? So there's a gigantic mismatch here, which is where I feel the outcome is irrelevant to motivation. Motivation is just a burst of energy that requires channeling.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to channel it, all that motivation will just go away. It just dissipates into nothingness.
Wilson, why do you think that people depend more on motivation than consistency?
Consistency will never get you better results.
What do you mean?
All right. If you're consistent with something throughout and you need different results, you won't get it with consistency. What you'll get it with is motivation. In motivation, you can be inconsistent and achieve a different result.
Agreed. It's unbridled. It's unchecked. So there is a different result to be had.
Yeah,
correct.
Because if your consistency is good, as I said, after a certain age, you need to be consistent.
Yes.
But doing the same thing over and over again will never get you better results.
Or the definition of madness.
Exactly.
As they say, Einstein.
Expecting
So
a
that's
different
why
result.
motivation
result,
is so important. Because if you don't see results and you're motivated, and you don't see results,
Therein lies the difference, right?
that's a demotivation factor then.
I mean, as a coach, if you were to look at it, consistency would not be about you following the same pattern of workout forever and expecting different results. It would be to elevate the game every single time.
Yeah. And just, I mean, as you can imagine, as a coach for so many years, I have faced the battle between clients being motivated versus being consistent. And and I used to often say, like, there's that, and I used to say this to fellow coaches, I said, there's that thing inside you that you just can't put in them. And then what I guess I was referring to was the consistency, right? Motivation seems to rear its pretty head every January for people, right?
Correct.
That want to get somehow decide they're going to go and get in shape. And then by the middle of February, the motivation has gone and it's dissipated into thin air. And it's exactly, and it's only people that have discipline and consistency that tend to, last the distance when it comes to health and fitness, at least anyway. So the truth is that, for at least in my experience, that it really is a mindset issue that you have to try to address. It's okay, well, what is it that leads somebody to be motivated by something? And so then how do you channel that attitude so that you get some longevity out of that initial lighting of the touch paper, right? So, that's my personal view in terms of how I feel motivation and consistency can be married together to help somebody get on the right path.
It's also fear of failure.
Yeah.
You are motivated to do a certain thing.
Right.
But you can't go beyond. And that keeps you far away from actually experimenting new things. And in order to happen, as you said, consistency is good, but you need to break that consistency.
Yeah.
You need to elevate it. You need to modify the rules.
To delve into something new horizons.
But then consistency, for that matter, is strategic.
Exactly.
Right? Motivation, as we said, is just uncontrolled energy. Right? It's like a Star Wars analogy, right? He's got the midichlorians and he knows how to, but he can't control the Force.
Right.
Right? But when he does learn to become a Jedi, channel that, and there is a consistent amount of effort that goes into it. And every single time he learns something new and he elevates his game. But he's consistent in his approach to improve his game. That's a more strategic, active thing that he needs to do.
I guess we can also say that consistency is only as good as the positive outcomes that it yields. Right, which I guess is kind of what you're saying, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's like
you need to see results.
Yes, exactly. There's no point in being consistent. There's no point in being consistent in something that's not yielding any positive results.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. So in that regard, consistency, although it's it's seen with a positive connotation, right? So when someone's consistent with something, then there should be a positive outcome, right? But as we all know that, doing something multiple times over practice doesn't necessarily make perfect. It makes permanent.
Exactly.
Now, you practice something incorrectly for a long period of time, it doesn't mean it's going to lead to perfection.
Because you get in your comfort zone then.
Yes, exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, sorry, Sumit, you mentioned very beautifully that motivation is like a lottery.
Yeah.
Elaborate on that for me.
I think about it this way, that you don't really know when you're going to win. You keep playing the game, and the game here in life is, okay, tomorrow I'll do it. Then tomorrow I'm going to do it. And then tomorrow never dies, right? It just keeps coming up. It's the equivalent of you buying a lottery ticket every morning and hoping that when you scratch it off, you get the right numbers.
Yes.
So it is, you are playing the lottery with motivation, and then one day it just hits, and then you've got this flurry of emotion of like, I'm going to do this, and this is going to happen. And then you put on your clothes and go and work out that one day, thinking that motivation is all you needed. Or you sat down and you wrote that book, or you read the book, or you did whatever was pestering you all this while, not recognizing that motivation won't move into the next day or the day after because you're still playing the lottery.
Well, or you win the lottery and you're never motivated to work again.
There you go. That's another thing. I did what I had to do and express
Yes.
myself, which is what the analogy leads, not analogy, the fact leads to people who have won the lottery. Oftentimes don't know what to do with the money.
Contentment.
Absolutely.
And they lose their money.
Absolutely.
90%
Yes.
plus of them actually end up losing that money in the most stupid manner possible because they just don't know how to do it because they've not built a system or a structure.
Yes.
And this is that whole thing, right? You can rise up to a goal or fall to the level of your systems.
Yes.
Exactly.
So it's about building a system, building a strategy, a regimen, and discipline, right? And then, of course, that graph of consistency is like it's 1% here, 2%, 4%, 8%, 10%, whatever the structure is going to be. That's the way you start seeing those little wins along the way, and that fuels your motivation. The compliment from the trainer, the wife or the girlfriend checking you out and saying something nice, whether that's a workout or a colleague telling you, "Wow, that was actually amazing. How did that happen?" Right? You did a fantastic job. Those are the motivating factors that remind you, it's like, damn, I'm good. I'm good at this. I'm getting better at this. I was somewhere else back then.
Yeah.
So waiting for that flurry of motivation to get that done might work when you're in college or in high school, when you're doing an all-nighter to study for an exam, maybe, because that's like gun to your head motivation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right? But life doesn't work that way, right? You can't be playing lottery every single day and then expect 5 years have passed.
No.
And
So Wilson, how do you change the mindset? If this is you, if you're, say, for example, if you're giving advice to your boy about the difference between motivation and consistency, trying to marry the two together so that he gets the best positive outcomes as possible, what advice would you give him to change his mindset from one to the other?
It's basically stay focused. You look, there is so much of temptation in and around you. Don't yield. Don't get into it. Stay focused. What is it you want to get out of your own life?
Or what is it you want most?
Don't copy others. Don't imitate others. Don't, as you said in the previous episode, don't compare yourself to someone.
Yeah.
You know your strength, you know your weaknesses. Work on it. Stay focused. You might succeed, you might fail. If you're down, get up again, stand up, walk again. That is called motivation. Consistency is, I'm going to do what I'm doing each and every day, come what may. And then I'm going to elevate myself in the consistency level. So the whole one line, stay focused.
Yeah. For me, it was Ralph Waldo Emerson that once said, successful people do what they need to do, whether they feel like it or not.
yes.
Right. And, we take the point that consistency in the wrong way might not yield positive results. But as long as you have a strategy and as long as you have a goal and a focus, like you say, in mind, then whether you feel like it or not, you strive towards that thing, and that you're not seasonal with your approach in terms of how you are going to deal with it. Something you mentioned a few things, one amongst them having a to-do list, for example, in changing the mindset. Talk about that for me a little bit.
I mean, there's a lot of ways that I feel the mindset can be shifted towards the addiction to motivation. Motivation is one thing that I did not touch on, which I know fairly well, is the dopamine hit effect, right? Motivation also comes from the fact that, I just watched something which gave me a dopamine hit, which then allowed me to easily get motivated. And then now I'm passionate enough to do something without actually having a plan for it, right? So, and then just this, again, unbridled energy just spreading everywhere and just like, I'm going to get a lot done, right? That's motivation without cause. When you actually build a system, then you have a step-by-step plan to actually achieve it. This is that whole consistency, but with elevation built in.
Yeah.
So how did I focus on that? It was starting with a very basic to-do list, right? And this would just be like, listen, let me not just keep all of this jumbled up in my head. I'm going to put it down and I'm going to start structuring it by topics. The next thing I did was convert that into an activity list. And this is coming from, Atomic Habits.
Yes.
Which would be like, okay, I need to do this. I'm now breaking this down into bite-sized goals, which are maybe like 20 goals, and then it's a function of time.
That's correct.
And so if I have to write something on LinkedIn, and I want to become a LinkedIn influencer or something, whatever, among my peers, I start with giving myself the smallest tidbit of a goal to achieve, which is like, I'm going to write one comment every day for the next 75 days or 100 days or something like that, right? And then when I reach my 50th day, I'll be like, all right, fine, I'm going to do 2 comments a day, or I'm going to do 4 comments a day. And as mundane as that sounds, that's achieving certain amount of visibility. People will start recognizing your efforts online and start following you and all that. Now, add to that like the 50 other activities that you can slowly, one step at a time, and you'll realize you've built a system that allows you to keep growing across the board 1% on everything.
That is what you said, whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not. I think one factor actually is, you've heard of eat the frog?
Yes.
Yeah. So eat the frog, you do the difficult thing first.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if I apply it to like strength training, for example, you do your heavy set first. You do your most difficult exercise first.
Yes.
Because everything else from there on in is going to pale in comparison. True. Everything else from beyond that point is going to feel easier. It should feel easier. So you eat the frog, you do the difficult task first in the early part of the day, for example, and then everything else thereafter should just kind of hopefully fall into place. Wilson, some last thoughts from you?
Well, we all live in hope. Stay focused. That's all I can still say. Be consistent. If you're not happy, change it. Do something else. Keep on progressing. Don't turn back. Don't think about your failures, because there's a future ahead. And always look towards the future.
Awesome. There's just one more point to your point, actually, which I was getting to, but I just missed it. In the to-do lists, I recognize that one thing that I do that works really well for me is if there's 3 things for me to do today, I'm going to add 3 or 4 more to it.
Right.
But those 3 or 4 more things that I have to do are ridiculously easy things to do.
Sure.
And I keep them up front.
That is if you do the difficult part.
If I can check off 1 or 2 things, it's the equivalent of watching an Instagram reel. Every time you do it, you get a micro hit of dopamine, right? That motivates you to check the next one, then the next one. Now that's a negative loop. Here, you're just like, I got 1 done. I can do the next one. Yeah. I did the 3rd one. And now you're on a roll.
You're on a positive loop.
That's a positive loop. And you're on a roll now. I'm going to do the 5th and the 6th and the 7th. And the 5th and the 6th and the 7th were the ones you wanted to do in the first place, right?
Exactly.
So it could be eat the frog for something big, or it could be giving yourself that dopamine hit to keep that ball rolling. You just grease the wheels.
And nothing against frogs, by the way. We're all
we love frogs anyways.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate fantastic conversation. Hope you found it useful at home. Like and subscribe for more content, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Cheers.
Thanks for having us.